part?
My girlfriend's a breathwork practitioner, so she finds it so easy.
Oh, of course.
She'll wake up in the morning and she'll do like an hour and a half yoga and breathwork in front of me.
Never.
Yeah, and she hasn't even gone and got her phone off charging. She'll then walk into the kitchen and drink her water, make her little tea with the herbs thing in it, and she'll drift back and she'll go and she sits on the balcony and just sits in the sun. Me, whatever the opposite of that is me.
Yeah, I know. I wake up, like the second my eyes are open, I'm like,
yeah,
100% I'm raging to like get after something. Or I actually tend to wake up with a huge creative explosion. So I don't have to like have anxiety of like stuff I have to do, but I have excitement of like, oh, I got an idea. Like this is really cool. Like I want to get raging, right? But I don't. I'm like, I play with my kids and stuff like that, right? So can you give me 5 minutes, right? What can you give me in the morning of just down? Can we do the same thing at some point during the day? And trust me, that midday one is like awful for me, right? Because the whole time I sit there just going, all I'm doing is wasting time right now. But it is a worthwhile investment, because even that amount of time, like to recenter, I don't close my eyes. I don't do breath. Like I don't even try. It's just like, okay, great. I'm going to literally walk outside. Like I'm going to take one lap around my house. Like I'm doing something to like bring it back down. And then I love it for guys like you and I at night, because there has to be some sort of physiological signal that we're done. I have to have a thing. If not, I'm like, boom, kids, dinner, playing with them, get them to bed. And then I'm like, everything I can do to not walk back in my office. Like everything I can do. The wife just has to be like, nah. So if I can finish that with like, fine, we're going to do dinner and then we're going to go play outside. We're going to take the dog for a walk. We're going to go to nature walk or something. I have to have something that tells me you're done. The last thing I'll say on this is there's actually really interesting research that will find a disassociation between HRV and respiratory rate and sleep quality. And the reason I'm saying that is they are all entwined, but they are also different. There's actually a study that came out last year and found for every breath rate per minute, so 1 breath per minute rate increase, this was in college freshmen, there was a 25% increase in likelihood of experiencing moderate to high stress. But it wasn't found in HRV, and it wasn't found in any sleep objective or subjective markers. What that's telling you is, again, those are associated, but they're independent variables to pay attention to. And so just because you're like, oh, I sleep enough, and just because, and the last one to get to is we actually use scientifically validated questionnaires to look at mental health in every person we work with. It's not our expertise, that we have somebody on our team that does that, but really we're looking for red flags if we need to refer out, right? But we do that because there's just no way you can optimize the human experience with just total disregard for mental health, right? But what happens often is we see people who are fine or just not like major issues in mental health, but they can still have an extremely stressed physiology. And so understanding stress, when I say stress, I do the same thing. I associate that with like, oh, I'm not stressed. But then when we look at your HRV and we look at all these other markers, we're looking at a bunch of blood markers and other molecular markers, we're seeing like, well, you have a very stressed physiology. Now, for whatever reason, you're handling it fine psychologically, or it's not making an impact, whether it is or not, or I don't know, that's not my area, but we can see it physiologically. And so coming into your equation, it goes, okay, we have levers to pull here. You asked a few minutes ago, is sleep and recovery the same thing? They're not. They're associated, but this is a good example. You could be sleeping fine, but if you're not physiologically recovering enough, that can be a separate issue. There's a Venn diagram here. There's an overlap, but they're not necessarily just the same thing. In a lot of people, you'll see the same pattern with CO2 tolerance, respiratory rate, sleep, and HRV. They'll be highly associated. But in some people, you might have to disentangle one from the other one or another one and really pull something apart. So that's what we would do for you, is to go in with this HRV game, is to say, okay, great. Where's the place we have to go? And usually you'll see something poking out there that says, okay, here's our opportunity to go after something and improve and to work on. And this is where we're going to get the most bang for the buck for you.